We have a whole list of things to get done on this Impala. No, we're not breakdancing. Number one, I need to swap out the transmission output shaft seal. She's a little drippy. I need to do some sort of air tank drain. Tank. Drain. We might get to put an amplifier in here. Amp. Gotta change the oil. Battery's been relocated to the rear here, and I have a circuit breaker on them. Problem is, it's a cheap eBay breaker, and every now and again, it'll pop on me, and it's really annoying. So, I'm gonna do something about that. Battery protection. That should do it for now, guys. That's him right there. That's the jerk. I'm gonna pull that little punk out of here. I made this bracket here, which worked out really well. The positive battery terminal, circuit breaker, went back to this distribution post. I think I'm gonna modify this to work with something other than this crappy circuit breaker. I really like to be able to kill the battery connection to everything real easy. I think I'm gonna go with this Blue Sea battery switch. Blue Sea makes really good, reliable marine stuff. This is just a single circuit on-off switch. It is protected. Looks like 900 amps cranking. So just for 30 seconds, this thing will hold 900 amps. Otherwise, it's 300 amps continuous. Looks like it'll cause cancer in California though. I don't plan on driving to California anyway. This could be mounted like this. You can mount it through a hole. So it's just that. Or what I would like to do is cut that hole out and mount it from behind. It'd be super cool to have it on this panel somewhere. But I'm just out of room. I'll just put it on this bracket. Like that somehow. Suppose we start by taking this one apart. found a scrap piece of 2x4 square tubing, well, part of it anyway. It was actually real close to this when I found it, and I thought that would work out pretty good. Zip that off, weld that on there like that. We have our battery hold down, bracket for a switcher, distribution post back there. You guys ever do something so incredibly stupid you don't know whether to laugh or throw it across the room? It's upside down, dude. Nah, it's okay though. I'll just unbolt that stud, move to the other side. No problem. Dummy. It had to come off to paint this anyway. Just needs a little primer and some paint. Should be good to go. And just like that, it's the next day, and we got a coat of primer and a cheap coat of bed liner on this dude. Got some hardware here. And go ahead and put that switch on this bracket. Put our distribution stud back on. Get this thing back in there. First, we're gonna have to make some battery cables. These cables I had on there before, they're gonna work. They used to just go into that circuit breaker there and they were held down by a set screw. So we'll just have to put some terminals on the ends of these wires and they'll work with this one. This time, we're gonna use this hydraulic crimper. This only goes up to 0 gauge, and this is a 1/0. So this is a little bit bigger, but that'll do just fine. This guy has these different dies for different size wire. crimp on there. Next. I'm out of propane for my little propane torch, so I'm gonna try this. This thing gets pretty dang hot. I use this all the time for even 0 gauge, so I'm gonna try my luck with this 1-aught, see what happens. Got our favorite Tessa tape. Boot. Look at that. All right, there we go. Protected, on-off switch, battery held down. I bet there's some of you out there wondering what's going on here. I'll do a feature video on this car at some point soon, probably, where I'll explain all that in more detail. But a quick explanation. This is a fuse block, also by Blue Sea, same brand as that switch we put in. I have a fuse for each one of my air compressors. There's one for this light controller. It's from Sound Off Signal. It's their blueprint system. It's basically an automated light controller for emergency vehicles, squad cars, fire departments, things like that. I rewired this whole car using that. It's all programmable with a laptop computer, and I'll go into more detail on this later on. But that's what that is. Down here, AVS switch box, little micro relays in there. A relay for each one of my air compressors. And this is a circuit breaker that is I pre-wired there for an amplifier for some subs that I actually already have in here. Put a drain on that air tank, eh? So I was kind of proactive when I put this together. That guy right there is the bottom of the tank. So we're halfway done. That's why we need a drain. We're gonna let that mess leak out for a while. Yep, she's set up to tow. Look at all that water. Saw a meme once about mini truckers turning air into orange water. I thought that was kind of funny. Anyway, we're gonna take that all the way out and make us some sort of drain system. For now, until I get around to hard lining that, let's do some 1/2-inch airline. I got some split loom to protect it. Bunch of random fittings over here. Ball valves, a little coupler, couple push to connect fittings. Let's talk about these press lock fittings for a second. They tend to get a bad name, but like a lot of things, it's usually install related. One misconception about these is that you put your airline in there, oh, you can take it back out, and then you can put it back in, then you can take it out, and go ahead and put it back in again, and expect it to not leak. But when you take the airline out of that fitting, it actually leaves little scratches on the end of this airline. So if you try to use this again, it's gonna leak. I really prefer not to use these. I've had them crack on me. I've had them leak in the end here. You gotta spend some money on the good ones. Got my fitting here. Teflon tape or pipe thread sealant. First thing you need to do is make sure the end of your airline is nice and clean. There's no nicks in it. There's no scratches. It's never been put in one of these before. I prefer these hose cutters. Just makes a nice, clean, straight cut. But you could also use a nice sharp razor blade. You don't want that cut at an angle. It needs to be straight, it needs to be clean. When you put it in the fitting, push it in there nice and tight. And it goes in a whole lot further than it feels like it does at first. It feels like it'll stop, keep going, it'll go all the way in. Make sure that that's seated in there properly and relaxed, meaning it's not getting yanked in any sort of direction. It's coming out straight. All right, the fitting itself and the threads, we're gonna need to seal those threads with Teflon tape or the pipe thread sealant, or like me, actually use both. There is a certain direction you want to put this Teflon tape on. You know the whole righty-tighty, lefty-loosey thing? Righty-tighty. You take the end of the Teflon, and that goes on the threads in that direction. Go around that a few times. Now if you did that right, the end of your Teflon tape is going to be facing that way. So when you're tightening this fitting, it's pulling away from the end. And if you went the other way, it'd be pushing into that end, and then it's just going to bunch up your Teflon tape. So make sure you're putting that on right. I like to put a little bit of the goop on there too. I have this ball valve here. I think it's going to work pretty good for this application for now, which for me for now means probably 3 years. It's got a female thread on one side and a male on the other. And digging through my stuff, I only have so many things to make that work. But I do have the press lock fitting. It's going to go in the female side, and that'll be on my tank side, so I only have to worry about that one fitting. But on this side, I'm going to have to use this coupler guy, this bushing dude, or reducer, whatever you want to call it. And I really don't care about this section. That's not holding any air, so I'm okay with this. What this is going to do, make sure I can drain my tank, or hook up my shop air to this and fill my tank. All right, where'd I put that fitting? Teflon taped up, gooped up.
Back under the car, guys. This ain't getting any easier, I'll tell you that. I need to find a place to put that valve. And I'm also going to put this fitting in the bottom of the tank quick. That should do it.
All right, we have our fitting in the tank. We have our cobbled together drain thingy there. Airline, it's 1/2 inch. It's the DOT nylon reinforced stuff. I like to use that because I've had the cheaper stuff balloon up on me. Happened in an old Tacoma I had. That's no bueno. I'm gonna start trimming my airline nice and straight. I like to protect my airline when at all possible. I usually use rubber heater hose or something like that. I'll slit down the center and put it around here when it goes past anything metal or anything it's gonna rub on or could rub on. In this case, I'm just gonna use a split loom. This airline is going to go into that fitting probably about 1 inch, so I'm going to leave this back a couple inches and grab my good old outdoor Tessa tape here. Link down below. Stuff is amazing. They got the good outside stuff and then the soft cloth stuff that you'd use on the inside. I'm not going to tape up this whole thing, I'm just going to tape up the end here. You cannot rip this stuff. The inside stuff you can, but not this outside stuff. Back under the car. Oh. That's where that went.
You gotta be real careful when you're turning corners, because if this kinks, you'll cause a spot where it could leak. So when I got this car, there was some historic hitch on it. There was a big piece of flat stock going from one frame rail to the other, and then one coming out underneath the license plate. I cut that off, but part of it is still right here on the frame rail. It's looking like I could put this there, drill and tap into that big piece of flat stock, so I could use these clamps to hold my valve. And like right about there, the valve is protected by everything else down here, the frame rail, the hitch. I think I'm gonna do that. Normally I say, this is the most expensive tool you never want to use. And if I have this tool out best just leave me alone. In this case though, it's a good thing. We're gonna drill a hole, we're gonna tap it for whatever bolt I decide to use, and that'll hold our valves on. Maybe two of them. Not valves, bolts. Can you really go wrong with a classic quarter 20 of the stainless variety? Nah. $13.64s. I'll settle for the one I have. We got jokes. I looked everywhere for my tap magic. Can't find it. Dub D it is. Trick is, go in a little bit, back it out. Go in a little bit, back it out. When you back it out, it seems to clean up the hole a little bit, clean up the threads. Guys, I screwed up. I was hitting stop when I wanted to hit record, and recorded when I wanted to hit stop. 100% user error, guys. I have no excuses. I can fill you in on what happened though. I was tapping the hole, I broke my tap, I said some bad words, so then I decided to just drill some holes and nut and bolt the dang thing on. Then I broke my drill bit. I said some more bad words, but then I got it installed up in here. She's full. That right there is not the end location for that valve. Sooner than later, it'll be in there. Let's see if we can't get that transmission leak fixed. Actually, guys, it looks pretty dry around that seal. Tell you the truth, I don't remember why I thought the seal was leaking. Looking at it now, it looks more like the speedometer. We'll just pop that girl off of there for a minute. Check her out. This is only like 5 years old, but it was the cheapest thing I could find at the time, so I guess I wouldn't be surprised if it was leaking already. This is the speedo gear. There's another gear on the output shaft and the transmission that this rides on. Speedo cable goes in that square hole, and that spins your cable up to your speedometer. And I think there's only really two places this can leak. This O-ring around the outside of this bullet, they call it, or the seal in there where the gear rides on. That O-ring has a nick in it. I suppose that could cause a slow drip like what I'm experiencing. Take the gear out, we'll inspect that. Sometimes you get a little groove in here, a little low spot from it spinning so much. I'm not seeing much of that either. I'm thinking I could get away with just replacing this O-ring on the outside, even though I know that 9 times out of 10 it's the seal on the inside, not that. I think I can get the gear, like an AC Delco gear, and a good bullet with a good O-ring and seal. I think I can get that all for like 30 bucks. So I might as well look for some better ones and just replace it. We got mail. It's my secret Dakota pan. Gee, isn't that nice? This new O-ring is definitely better than that one. The seal on the inside looks nicer there too, but I think that's just because this one's new. Before we throw this stuff together, throw it in there, we're gonna have to lube up the gear and the O-ring. Just a little patooey lube. Patooey. I'm gonna use a little transmission fluid. Just gotta line that groove up there for that retainer to go in. Where'd I put that retainer? Oh, found it under my cardboard. This isn't gonna work. This should just be a little metal tab that goes into that slot. That was probably half my problem the whole time, if not all of it. So I didn't have one of those, so I just went ahead and took off to our spot up north for a few days. And when I came back, bam, got one. Anybody else getting sick of crawling under this car? No? Just me? All right. Oh, hey, since you're down there, you want to drain the oil? Thanks. Finger tight and then a little snuggin'. Once we knock this list down, we'll fire this up, let it run, take it for a rip, and see if it drips out of there. I once saw a 2,000-year-old oil stain. It was ancient Greece. I had another joke about crude oil, but it needs refinement. Only thing left on this list is to install that amplifier, wash it, take it for a drive. There's definitely not as much room back there as I remember. Thought for sure I had room to put an amp back there. I had to get back here and get these speaker wires anyway. I had to build these boxes for these subs around that air tank so they could come in here first. So that's why these have been in here for 3 years now and I never put an amp on them. They're JL8W3 V3s. Boxes are 0.35 cubic feet tuned to 35 hertz. I have this Kenwood Exelon XR601. It's a pretty small amp. I should be able to find a place for this somewhere. Look right there. Oh, I don't want to screw that amp down through my floor. So I'm actually gonna glue down this piece of plywood in here. That way I can screw the amp to this. I'm gonna give her a little scuff. She needs a scuffing too. We'll get the liquid nails on it. Got my RCA's here. Need to go up to the radio. I also need to send back a remote turn-on wire. I usually like to use blue for this, just because the remote wire on the radio is blue. Blue and white. Fresh out of blue. We'll go with pink. What I like to do to keep this more manageable, I'll tape the remote wire to the RCA's every foot or so. Hang on to these for me, will you? One thing you never do is hook up them RCA's and that remote wire, put the radio back in, and then run them in the back. I am actually going to put the radio back in now, but not till after I zip tie those RCA's somewhere where I'm not going to pull them too tight. Flush cutters, get yourself some. No zip tie razor blades on my clock. I never said she was winning any sound quality competitions. I do got that sweet baffle in there though. It's foam. Alright, we got our power wire, RCAs, speaker wires, and a remote wire back here. We're just missing a ground. Considering the amp is going there and the battery is right here, I think we'll just go right to the battery. Got some 4-gauge ground wire here. Give her a strip. Earlier we used that hydraulic crimper. We're going to use a different method this time. Time to tune an amp. I'm not gonna go into how I'm tuning this amp really right now. We're gonna do that eventually in the Love, but that's gonna be a whole video just on that. So this amp is doing 600 watts at 2 ohms. And it's doing a dang good job at it. I'm super happy. Sorry guys. The last thing on this list is to wash it and take it for a drive. Unless I'm getting my snowboard gear out, we're not washing this outside. We're calling this list done. I'm not gonna go, what the